Joe, the national title is finally here, and it's going to be Ohio State and Notre Dame. Would you have imagined an expanded playoff that the first time we give it would be a 7 and 8 seed? Because I surely did not think that was going to happen, but we are here nevertheless. And it's Ohio State and Notre Dame. Your thoughts?
Well, one, that plays to the whole point of expanding the playoff is giving these opportunities to teams that had shortcomings that showed up during the season. I don't have a pick just yet, and I think that a lot of people who follow our channel are going to understand which side I'm definitely going to lean and end up picking. I'm probably going to pick Notre Dame because I picked them every step of the way because I'm afraid to jinx the situation and what they've done. On the Ohio State side of things, if the version that we saw against Oregon and Tennessee, where they leaned on their receivers, Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka early, and they picked up a ton of big splash plays, and they just come firing out the gate, they're winning the football game. Because once they started doing that, it allowed for the run game to open up, and then that was where they really started to gash their opponents. Defensively, like they're going to do a lot of things to slow down that Notre Dame rushing attack like we have seen from Notre Dame's last two opponents in Georgia and in Penn State. A lot of pressure is going to be on Riley Leonard's shoulders. Flip side of this, though, for Notre Dame, and I think that there is a lot more of a realistic chance than I think many outside of the Notre Dame realm want to give them in this matchup, especially with how human Ohio State looked after the unstoppable Death Star-like run that they had to start the playoff. It's going to rely on them playing great coverage on Jeremiah Smith, and whenever Jeremiah Smith is taken out of the equation like he was in the Texas game, Will Howard holds onto the ball too long, and Notre Dame has a very advantageous defensive line, a very advantageous secondary that will turn the ball over in any questionable situation. That is going to be the biggest winning point, as well as on the flip side, what I just mentioned there, Riley Leonard not turning the ball over and converting on third downs like he did against Penn State.
I think people are going to look at the Texas game with Ohio State and ultimately think or have some doubt that Ohio State is clippable. And look, they got clipped twice throughout the regular season. Of course they are. Joe, 10 days for Ryan Day and Chip Kelly to not allow that to happen to Jeremiah Smith again, I think it will be an ultimate game plan. That if they do this, they have 10 days to figure that out. I rarely see, and maybe I could be misremembering, I'm sure it's happened before.
Yeah.
A receiver like that to be locked down for 2 straight games.
Well, he's a
Right.
freshman. So it's a little bit that needs I think that's the context of it.
I mean, I get it, but I think they're going to figure it out. I think it comes down to a couple of things, Joe. I think that this is the ultimate test. This is the boss, like of all the defenses that you've seen, of all the situations that you've seen, of all the things that you've had to overcome if you're Notre Dame. This is clearly and ultimately the final step, not only to winning a national title, but it's by far the best team that you've played from a talent v. talent standpoint.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially at quarterback. And I don't think that that's a slight to anybody. The question ultimately becomes, and what we've seen, can you keep the games close enough and in a tight situation where you can hang around and you don't let these explosive playmakers make plays? Right. That is that it's what it comes down to. Okay. I think that you're going to be challenged offensively more than you've ever been challenged with the front seven. I just think, Joe, that right now if I had to go early and looking into this game,
I'm shocked.
We break this game down a lot, I got to go with the more talented team that I see.
Okay.
I do think Ohio State is clippable. I just think that they have another level that they can get to, and if they can get there one more time, they can win it all. There is another thing that I would look in this, though, too, that really interests me. There were some key situations on third down for Notre Dame and Riley Leonard throwing the football. I know you did it against Georgia some, even in the 90 yards, but you certainly did that the other night against Penn State. Can you do that again? You're going to have to do it again to win here. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think Ohio State Joe, defensively tonight too, man.
Yeah.
Whew, I mean, dude, they're so talented, man.
Jack Sawyer and JT Tumoilau, who got a little bit banged up, if he comes back healthy, and it seems like it was an ankle, they're going to be super critical in that game. Seeing how Denai Dennis Sutton and Abdul Carter were able to take over. There's two games that I think eventually I'm going to extrapolate on when we do the Sunday show, but that I want to bring up that work for either team and how they're going to defend their upcoming opponent. For Ohio State, I'm looking at the USC game. I'm looking at the fact that was the only team that really challenged Notre Dame's secondary this entire year and in this final part of the year. They have been phenomenal in coverage against everybody that they've seen, but USC was the one who made Christian Gray, who looked amazing against Penn State, look really weak. He had a ton of holding penalties.
This ain't Georgia and Penn State.
Right. You have the receiving talent, better receiving talent than USC to replicate a performance like that, and you just need to, again, like we keep saying with Ohio State, lean on your receivers. And then on the Notre Dame side of things, the same game or a game in the same exact week as the USC one was Ohio State's loss that they suffered to Michigan. Now, I know that there is some really high-level psychological shit that happened in that is going to be not replicable for Notre Dame. But from just a game planning standpoint, there's a lot to steal from it. Notre Dame has been great at stealing approaches from opponents, just like they did with the Georgia game, the way that they were able to play going into that. They need to do that with Michigan. Michigan was without Will Johnson and Colston Loveland. They were very hampered offensively, and they were able to find ways to win. A lot of it is going to come down to the way that they were able to cover Jeremiah Smith and the way that they were able to rattle and get after Will Howard for him to play as poorly as he did. So if I'm preparing for this game and I'm on the Ohio State coaching staff and I'm on the Notre Dame coaching staff, I think that those are the two examples that you're looking for to know how to expose your opponent.
Just final thought here. I hear what you're saying. I just want to see Notre Dame go up against the number one defense in the country and put up more than 14. Right, like I got to see that because not a lot of teams have done that. They're number one. They're only 11, 12 points a game is Ohio State. So we'll see.